What's going on, guys? It's Tom or Top 10 Wrestling, and welcome back to another video on the channel. Today we're doing the Rise and Fall of WCPW Part 2. Now, I wasn't planning on making a Part 2 to this, but I think there are some things that I need to address that I didn't talk about in the first video, such as the demonetization issue, stuff with Adam Blampied, and in general, I want to be responding to your guys' comments, giving my thoughts on them. This video is basically like a comment comeback kind of thing, where I respond to your comments about the video, we talk about them. If you guys want me to do a video like this for like past videos, such as my TNA video, my downfall of TNA video, I might do it. Let me know if you want to see that. But before we get into it, I'd like to thank my Patreon supporters, all listed here. For more exclusive content and different perks from me, check out my Patreon link down below. Going to be having some WCPW pay-per-view reviews going on there shortly. Don't know when, but they will come. But anyway, let's stop wasting time and let's get into the video.
Hey, this is your Olympic hero Kurt Angle, and you are watching Top 10 Wrestling. Oh, it's true. It's damn true.
So like I said at the top of this video, I wanted to address the whole demonetization thing that WCPW went through. In my last video, or the part 1 of this, I mentioned that I didn't feel like it was worth mentioning, but after receiving a lot of comments and thinking it through, I think it definitely is worth mentioning, so I want to talk about it here. First of all, if you don't know what I'm referring to when I'm talking about the demonetization issue, basically I believe it was back in 2017, late 2016, maybe around then, when there was the YouTube ad apocalypse. Now what that was, it was a label made for when a bunch of advertisers pulled out of YouTube due to concerns with the content that they were advertising for. Many big companies such as Coca-Cola and a lot of other brands all pulled out of YouTube, and it meant that YouTube became really strict on what content they now monetize, and they would start deeming content as inappropriate and demonetizing it. And wrestling was something that fell into that category. Now personally, I wasn't really that affected by it all, but a lot of wrestling YouTubers were. A lot of the more prominent ones were affected by wrestling being deemed inappropriate, namely actual wrestling, like videos showing actual wrestling, such as WCPW. Now, WCPW had a weekly show that was broadcast for free on YouTube, and presumably they made a fair bit of money from it. But because of the demonetization issue, WhatCulture had to stop taping Loaded due to the fact that they weren't making enough money anymore. And I know they held a big show called Fight Back, where Adam Blampied cut a heartfelt promo all about the demonetization issue and his love for professional wrestling and that it doesn't deserve to be demonetized. It was very good, you should watch that. But here's my take on it all. The fact is, running a show for free on YouTube is a big risk to begin with, because YouTube revenue fluctuates. It's a well-known fact that in January and February, they're the lowest earning months due to advertiser contracts, and December is the highest due to winter and winter ads. So it fluctuates every month. There's so many different factors that can play into how much money you make from a certain video, which can be how long someone watches it for, how many ads are placed on the video, whether someone clicks on the ad, how long someone watches an ad for. There's so many different factors that can determine how much money a YouTube video makes. So to begin with, it was already very risky that they were running shows on YouTube and using that money. Many people believe that the YouTube demonetization thing was a big reason as to why WCPW actually died and lost a lot of money. But to me, it sort of wasn't. Because even before this, they were running pay-per-views for free. But before demonetization even happened, they started switching and experimenting with iPay-per-view and having it so you had to buy pay-per-views. They even started WhatCulture Extra, a new subscription service for more WhatCulture and WCPW content, and also where they stream pay-per-views. So it shows that they were trying to get money already before demonetization, which could imply that they already weren't making that much money from the YouTube shows. The fact is, running a show exclusively on YouTube for free and paying your wrestlers through ad revenue, or all your employees through ad revenue, is never sustainable. It just isn't. most indie companies, especially back then, didn't broadcast their shows, they didn't film their shows. So when you're filming your shows for YouTube, not only are you having to pay wrestlers and stuff, you're having to pay cameramen, editors, directors, producers, so many different people. Most indie companies just book people and pay people based on the gate receipts, the ticket sales, and sponsorships, and because they don't have to pay cameramen, editors and stuff, because they're not actually broadcasting it. But when you're actually broadcasting it, it turns into an entire production where there's so many more people you have to pay, and the fact is, there is absolutely no way that YouTube revenue would have covered it. There's no way. Like, there's a reason they started WhatCulture Extra before demonetization. There's a reason why they were doing pay-per-views before demonetization, and it's probably because it wasn't sustainable already to do it on YouTube. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on the whole demonetization issue. I know I got a lot of comments about it. I definitely should have addressed this in the first video, so I apologize that I didn't, but that's just my take on it. Comment down below if you disagree, comment down below if you do agree, let me know. So the next thing to address that I also saw a few comments for was the whole Adam Blampied scandal, which is something I don't want to get into detail with because ironically it will probably get this demonetized. Many people say that this was a reason they stopped watching WCPW, which I can see it, but at the same time, I don't think this was a factor in WCPW necessarily dying, because one of the big reasons that many people commented and stated is that they stopped watching WCPW after Adam, Ross, Jack and Sam all left, and the Adam Blampied scandal happened after they had left WhatCulture, meaning most of the people had already stopped watching anyway, and the Blampied scandal wasn't really affecting it, you know what I mean? Because me personally, I stopped watching when they left, and like I said, the scandal happened a bit after they had left. I'm not sure, like a few weeks after. It was just before the launch of Cultaholic, but it happened after they had left. Anyway, I've got a couple comments to respond to, so I'm going to start reading them out. Starting off with this one from Jaggermain Deluxe, who says, the budget was also a main reason why WCPW/Defiant closed doors. Believe it or not, the budget loss was the primary reason why Defiant went dark after Built to Destroy 2019. Now, when you say budget loss, I presume what you're talking about was the jump from WCPW to Defiant. Because if you look at the shows, WCPW definitely had a higher budget in terms of wrestlers they were booking than Defiant did, so there was definitely a budget loss. And I definitely agree with what you're saying here. They've already lost the budget to begin with, meaning they're having to book lower card, lesser known wrestlers, and that all that means is that less people are going to tune in, so they're going to make even less money. So I definitely believe what you're saying there. Engels SK Man 2011 says, it went downhill once the WhatCulture 5 left, to be honest. By the way, a lot of you guys were saying WhatCulture 5, which I never knew was a terminology, but I guess it is, and I'm very happy with that. But I definitely agree it did go downhill. I know, obviously, they weren't full-time wrestlers on the show, but believe it or not, there were definitely people who tuned in to watch the 5 or be part of the shows. I mean, because it is a great combination. I mean, if you were a fan of WhatCulture, you're watching your favorite wrestling personalities combined with your favorite wrestlers. Like, that's a dream. And definitely once they left, there was for sure people who tuned out, me included. I mean, I just lost interest in everything WhatCulture, and it just happened. Stuff like that can happen. Scott Young says they brought in too many stars, so when they didn't bring in as many people or as many stars, people turned off. They also built it around YouTube personalities rather than the amount of talent they had in their roster. This kind of goes hand in hand with what I said in the last one. While I do think that combining the YouTubers with the wrestlers was a good idea, for your neutral fan of WCPW who has no idea what WhatCulture is, if they see these YouTube personalities running around, they might be turned off. Now, I know I have no evidence to say this, but there is a chance that this could happen, and I know this was a big critique that WCPW got from many non-WhatCulture fans and many wrestling industry people, which we'll talk about right now. To be fair, this comment isn't actually about the WCPW video, it's about the WhatCulture video, but Keeping It 100 Official commented, which if you don't know, that's Conan's podcast. I can explain it to you very easily. The marked channels are nothing but clickbait. They have zero inside sources. They just pass off Meltzer's usually fake stories as their own, yet the fans, for whatever reason, allow themselves to be duped into this mark trash. I have nothing to respond to that. I just wanted to say it because I think it's so crazy that Conan commented on one of my videos. What killed Defiant for me was that there wasn't a way to watch shows and that were essential viewing for Loaded. I remember watching the new episode 1 of the new Loaded and it referenced so many events I've never seen. That's what Glide Donut said, but then ... responded saying, a big problem with Loaded was that they made it inconsistent with how you could watch it. 1 month it would be free on YouTube and the next it would be on WhatCulture Extra. That made it difficult to watch and rewatch. I completely agree with both of these statements here. I think it was very hard for a new fan to tune into WhatCulture Pro Wrestling when watching a Loaded episode. However, I feel like if you're watching a pay-per-view, then you're all good, especially because if you're watching a pay-per-view for WCPW, you're most likely watching it because you're drawn in by the stars such as Kurt Angle and Rey Mysterio and Cody Rhodes, so you might not be paying too much attention to the stories. But as ... said, again, I completely agree with this. I mean, there was when WhatCulture Pro Wrestling first started, Loaded was split into parts on the WhatCulture channel, then it was put on the WCPW channel in parts, then there was WhatCulture Extra, then it was free on YouTube as a whole thing and not in parts, and it always changed, and even now, like, so many episodes have been deleted and removed. I'm not sure if there's any reasons behind that, but, you know, it is hard to watch and rewatch, like you said. I agree with both of these statements here. Nick Hodge left a comment saying, you know the saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Well, it seems WCPW tried to fix something that wasn't broke by rebranding the company to Defiant and effed it all up. He then goes on to tell a story about when he inherited his grandfather's business. I'm not going to read it all out because it's long, but if you want to read it, go ahead. It's a very interesting story, and you make a very great point there, Nick. However, I also believe that changing to Defiant was for the better. The issue is that they changed the brand completely. When they changed the name, they changed the entire thing. They changed what wrestlers were appearing on. They changed the format of the show, and I think that just very much alienated the fan base. I definitely think they could have continued as Defiant. The issue is they blew their load early with WCPW by booking all these big stars and then going on to become Defiant, where it was mainly just UK talent. I mean, so many people tuned in to see Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, Ricochet, all these people, and then it just turns into a UK show, and many fans got alienated. And also, from what I know, I listened to the Remembering WCPW podcast that Cultaholic did a couple days after WCPW died, and they mentioned that the plan was always to change into Defiant, which shows that this was always a long-term plan for WCPW to turn to Defiant. But whether or not it was a long-term plan to rebrand to a UK promotion remains to be unknown, but I doubt it was. And the final comment that I'm going to read from Jimbo2346, looking at its length of being open to closing, if WCW was a great night of making love, WCPW was the night you lost your virginity. And I'm just saying that one as last because for some reason it's the most perfect analogy. Anyway, that's it for this video, guys. If you did enjoy this format of video, let me know and I might go into some of my older videos such as the Rise and Fall of Ring of Honor or my whole TNA series and do another parts to them where I just respond to your comments, address things that I didn't address in the original videos, stuff like that. So let me know if you want to see that. But anyway, like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe, notifications on, follow me on Twitter at Top 10 Wrestling, my Instagram is at I'm Tom Bell, check me out on Patreon, patreon.com/Top10Wrestling, linked in the description. WCPW pay-per-view reviews coming there soon, starting off with No Regrets 2017. Anyway, I'm rambling. I'll see you guys all soon. Goodbye, and keep on rolling.
Sleeping on me at my feet is where you'll lay. Until your head down on your knees like you pray. It's cool, I continue to kick, push like Lupe. But if you ain't grinding with me, now the grind is where you'll stay. They want me quiet, you can watch me be discreet. Now I'm silent when I speak, mama